Davis's right Achilles, according to Adrian Woj. As a result, Davis is expected to miss the next 2 to 3 weeks before being reevaluated. Davis missed 3 games, or make that 2 games, last week when the Achilles issue and had to leave last night's loss to the Nuggets. Senior NBA insider Adrian Woj has much more on this breaking news. Woj, what's the level of concern over this injury with Anthony Davis right now?
Kevin, it's significant because of, that area of the body, the Achilles, and the stature of Anthony Davis. And, I'm told that, the conversations even before the MRI today among Anthony Davis and Rob Pelinka, Lakers Medical, and Anthony Davis's agent, Rich Paul, was that they're going to be conservative now on his return to play. I'm told 2 to 3 weeks before they reevaluate it, and then we're up against the midseason break, that March 5th to 10th All-Star break, and I'm told to not expect Anthony Davis back prior to that. It'd probably be unlikely to participate then in the All-Star game, but they don't want this to linger. They want to get this behind him, and listen, he re-aggravated it last night in the game against Denver, and Anthony Davis, had said he had felt good that day. He had felt pain-free. But clearly now they're going to take their time with this injury and understand that whatever they might lose in the standings about Anthony Davis, the end game is having him healthy long-term and certainly healthy for the postseason.
Okay, we will see if this also changes potential plans now with the All-Star break there extending into the NBA trade deadline. Woj will have much more on a couple of big men later on in the show. Woj right now with the very latest on Davis, and this gives you an idea. I mean, the impact of Davis is a big one for the defending champs. The Lakers have outscored their opponents by nearly 15 points per 100 possessions when AD and LeBron share the court. That would be the best net efficiency in the league by far. There's a significant drop-off when LeBron is on the court without Davis. For much more on the impact of this injury to AD, back to PTI with Tony and Mike.
All right, Wilbon, what does Anthony Davis's injury mean for the Lakers?
Trouble, Tony. I mean, bigger trouble the longer it goes and the longer he's off the floor. If they can get him back in time for a few games at the end of the playoffs, maybe not so much trouble. They'll still be favored. You still got the MVP in LeBron. But, Tony, you can't do it without your second-best player, without Anthony Davis. Even when you have pieces like Schroeder, who's found a home in a marvelous way, Montrezl Harrell, who came over as a free agent, Horton Tucker, a new kid in the lineup, Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the pieces fit wonderfully. But Anthony Davis is the second piece. And you got a stacked Western Conference out there, and you got to navigate that, and you don't want LeBron to have to play too many minutes. That's been a controversy already. How many minutes is LeBron playing? Well, if he's out there without Anthony Davis, it's going to be too many minutes. So I just as a basketball fan, I hope Anthony Davis is healthy enough to be Anthony Davis by the time the Lakers get to the playoffs.
Okay, so here is what I would worry about. I would worry that this is a chronic injury. Anthony Davis has missed a bunch of games in his career. He's not LeBron. Nobody is LeBron. He's missed games. He gets hurt. Got hurt a little bit in New Orleans, gets hurt a little bit with the Lakers. I would worry that this is something that he'll play a little bit and it'll get hurt again. And then it'll be like Kevin Durant, where they said of Kevin Durant that he had a high ankle sprain. The next thing you know, it was his Achilles and he was out for a full year. They're saying this is a calf strain. This could be the next thing you know, it's an Achilles and he's out for a whole year. And I wonder about this. Again, not with LeBron. Anthony Davis played deep into the fall, it seems, right?
Yes, he
did. That's when they ended. And his turnaround time was very, very minimal. And he goes out there and the way he plays, maybe that is too much of a strain. So I would not be optimistic about this because, look, they cannot win without him. He wasn't on the team a couple of years ago. They didn't even make the playoffs. They can't win. Simple.
If we
He's got to play and be good.
If we ask who the best number 2 player is, the best second-best player in the NBA, with all due respect to the new threesome in Brooklyn, are we going to agree it's Anthony Davis?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. We're going to agree about that. Yes, certainly.
They need him. They need him. That's it. We're done. Back to you.
Thanks, fellas. Well, the NFL quarterback carousel will remain a developing story until free agency officially begins March 17th. The contract, the future of the Cowboys' Dak Prescott, front and center leading up to the March 9th deadline for teams to use the franchise tag. And if it comes to that, it would be the second time they would franchise Prescott. This morning, Ed Werder offering some insight on the situation on KJZ on ESPN Radio.
Unless the Cowboys give Dak Prescott exactly what he wants, I don't see Dak having any reason to do anything until the March 9th deadline to be designated a franchise player, because that's when he'll maximize his leverage. I talked to Mike McCartney, who was the agent for Kirk Cousins, who's the only quarterback in the NFL to play on the tag twice, which is what Dak Prescott is looking at. And I think he felt like he had incredible leverage against Washington, and he converted that into an $84 million total guaranteed deal that remains the biggest in the NFL when he moved him to Washington after the second franchise. But I don't think he ever felt like he had the kind of leverage that Dak Prescott and Todd France have in the current negotiation between the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, because Dak's a far better, more accomplished quarterback than Kirk Cousins was at the time that he was tagged for the second time.
Speaking of Kirk Cousins, again, under the tag twice in Washington before leaving for the Vikings, he had some advice for Prescott last week, and he said the franchise tag can be your friend. It can be a help to you if that's the route you choose to go. I think he's in a great spot now. Everybody knows he can play, and he's an elite quarterback. Really, the ball is more in the court of the Cowboys and what they want to do going forward. For more on this, Jeff Darlington and NFL analyst Marcus Spears joining us now. It seems like Cousins is always renegotiating. He'll probably have another contract. He's gotten tons of guaranteed money, and Dak would make $37.7 million under the tag, Jeff. So why is that March 9th deadline so critical?
Well, some of the reasons that you heard from Ed there, but I'm a little hesitant to even call it a deadline. It's more like a landmark date. And the reason that it's significant beyond simply the fact that that's the deadline for tagging him, then extending till July to be able to negotiate a long-term deal. But $37.7 million, like you just said, that would be the franchise tag value on him for the coming season. Well, guess what? The Dallas Cowboys right now only have $27.7 million, right around there, of salary cap space. So in order to even tag him March 9th, they'll have to restructure some contracts, maybe like Amari Cooper, which is not a huge deal, but it continues to show us that the Cowboys continue year in, year out to have to make these moves with these artificial deadlines rather than just giving him the long-term contract. And so for the next several weeks, we'll wonder again whether the Cowboys will in fact use this date as the one in which they give him that contract.
Right. This is where we've been for a couple years now. Marcus, who do you think has the leverage in this situation now?
Oh, yeah, and it's clearly Dak. Number one, he's the best player for the Dallas Cowboys, and we always throw the term around throughout the league and locker rooms, the tape is your resume. And the Dallas Cowboys absolutely saw who they were without Dak Prescott, and that was not impressive at all. He overcompensated for the lack of offensive linemen and defense. He had them in games that they probably shouldn't have been in, but because of his tremendous play. And he's given everything you could possibly give to a franchise without opening his mouth and talking bad or disgruntled. He's been really good about how he's went about his business. So now he's staring at $37 million in a franchise tag. Jeff just finished telling everybody that Dallas doesn't have that as we speak right now in order to pay Dak. And he knows that, and Todd France's agent knows that as well. But Dak Prescott's play, his stature at the quarterback spot, and what he means to that organization and football team has created all of his leverage. Don't get it twisted on dates and deadlines and all of the money situations and everybody else being paid and talking about this cycle for 3 years. Dak Prescott has leverage because he's the best player for the Dallas Cowboys and one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. That is all the leverage you need.
It's really simple, right? If they tag him, they have 4 months to work out a long-term agreement, or guess what? They could risk losing him in 2022. Gentlemen, always appreciate you. Thanks.
More to come around the QB carousel here on SportsCenter, from former teammates to likely entering retirement together. finding the best fit for the Colts to replace Phillip Rivers and the Saints' next QB after Drew Brees. Plus, in her chase for a 24th Grand Slam title, examining Serena's path to the finals at the Aussie Open. Chrissy Everett standing by live. Also, the very latest on Kevin Durant's injury impact and the keys for Kyrie, Harden, and the Nets while KD is out. This is SportsCenter.